Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the first inaugural episode of the Scene Snobs podcast with your hosts, Michael Gimbel.
Well, hello there.
And Casey Plott. Hi, everybody.
First one.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm stoked.
It's
Welcome.
Exciting. It's taken a while to get here.
It has. It's been some time, my friend.
Anybody listening right now has no idea how long it's taken us to get here.
To actually do this.
Years.
Years.
Because, Scene Snob, I've been doing reviews for a while.
Yep. Yeah, you've been on fire with those between your Instagram, your Twitter, everything. Your Facebook. You've been crushing it, man.
And we've hosted together before.
We have. Yep.
On another show.
Yes, we did. Actually, two other shows.
Two other shows. Well, you were the host.
Fair. Yeah. The first iteration.
The iteration, yes. I came on as guest.
Yes.
But we're here. We finally got it. We can talk our geek stuff.
Victory!
Enjoy it.
Unabashedly.
And this has been a big week.
Yeah.
Geeks.
Huge couple of weeks. Ever since you approached me and we kind of started hammering out what we were planning on doing, I feel like it's just a waterfall. trying to grab a drink from a waterfall. It's just outrageous with the amount.
Why I wanted to start this so soon, though, because I was part of me all summer when I was setting everything up, getting the studio ready, it was October was my goal date. Mm-hmm. Just starting that month because Halloween's such a big thing, and we wanted to get that ready. And we love horror movies, so that's a big thing. But so much more, I was but it can't just be horror movies because we're geeks. We got to talk about everything. So the exciting thing about this was the past couple of weeks of setting this up, really motoring and being we're going to start.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It's been a waterfall of just geek news.
Just the content has been crazy. I mean, we've got a whole load to cover. I mean, you and I discussing everything from wrestling, then we got into the comic book, the MCU universe, everything that's happening there. There's, everything going on with Star Wars, everything that's getting ready to come out with Disney Plus. It's nonstop.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about Star Wars when we were writing down our list of stuff we want to talk about.
Oh
my God, that's killing me. Because there's so much going on there.
So much. That alone is a show. And then we get Star Trek. With Picard coming out, all the New York Comic Con stuff has been hitting so hard.
That's what pissed me off. I didn't see the Discovery trailer yet.
Okay, yeah.
But a good place to start, I guess, would be I did see the Picard trailer.
Right.
As soon as that popped up on my phone, I was like, oh. And I ran to the big screen, my TV, to watch it.
I did the same thing. I saw it on my phone, and it was I got to wait till I get home. And I actually pulled in, went right into the house, and was put it on the computer.
There was the thumbnail with him and Jonathan Frakes facing each other. And I was there's no way watching this on my phone will do it justice. So I ran inside, I put it on, and wow.
Yeah.
Holy words.
Yeah.
They are really doing this up.
They are getting everybody. You get Troy and Riker. In the first one you had 7 of 9, who's, that's a great addition.
And she was in this one too, with some action behind her.
Yep, there's a lot of action.
There's going to be some Borg action going on big time here, which we kind of suspected because she comes to him in the first trailer, and she wouldn't be coming to him unless it was Borg related. Right. And the mysterious girl that's in it, seems Borgish.
Yeah, she could be Borg-like.
And so I'm all right. And it's Picard.
Yep.
Who's his greatest rival?
The Borg. It's what messed him up the most. And I think that was when Next Gen really took on a new life, was when they finally moved into Picard as Locutus. That season 3 and 4, The Best of Both Worlds, I think that was when that propelled them into this whole new moonshot of a series, really.
Yeah, and I think the exciting thing about this show is going to be that always messed with him, and we got to see that for the remaining 4 years of Next Gen. And we got to see it in the movies and such, and how it affected him. But what's happened since? In the 20 years since Nemesis, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I always kind of just go right to Insurrection.
Well, because Insurrection is the one that we all just naturally go to, because it was, it was fun. It was a fun movie, and they win handily. There was little doubt in that one that it's everybody's fine. In Nemesis, it's uh-oh. That was darker. You got Picard's clone. Tom Hardy, by the way, young, skinny Tom Hardy, who has never been that light again in his little career.
But to know so much more, especially to jump to the one-shot books, like before Abrams' Star Trek came out, they did the crossover comic book with Countdown, I think it was called, and I have it over there, and of course I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, you've got more than just one, so it's okay. There's a bevy, this is what somebody say, of books over here.
With 2 kids, I don't even know if it's over there. Who knows if it's over there?
That's fair.
So the comic books get pulled out all the time.
As long as the Dark Knight isn't disappearing, and then you have to go track down your 7-year-old, make sure he's not reading.
Do not touch Dark Knight Returns. Don't do it. Not until you're old enough. But so like just to see what happens, like with the destruction of the Romulans' home planet, and where that goes, and what PTSD is coming from.
Exactly. Not to mention they have that Romulan warbird in the trailer. I mean, that is righteous, and it's not a new one. That is like the old C-class. That's an old thing that Kirk went up against, was that thing.
It's so crazy. I can't wait. I really can't wait to see what happens on the show.
It is really exciting. And it's really cool that they're doing something that stays in line, which makes me super excited, is that All Good Things was one of the greatest series finales for me ever. Just the way Next Gen did it and pulled it together. I think they pulled everything from all of the series that made it great, and they just ran with it.
Yeah.
And Old Man Picard out there at his winery, we still get Old Man Picard out there at his winery. So everything kind of follows suit. It all remains. And this is even taking it further, because now you have Frakes and Troy out of Starfleet. So even back then, he was an admiral. So now we're going to be past his admiralship.
Which is so weird, right? Like,
yeah.
And it's crazy how much older he looks than he did in All Good Things.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I don't even... How long was All Good Things in comparison to now? Was it like 10 years after? Or
I want to say it was 20 to 30 years after.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we could still have yet to be.
Correct, yeah.
We don't know. We know we're the Scene Snobs, but, you know, what we say is right.
Our way or the highway.
Yeah. So many Star Trek fans are going to go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't blame them, but still.
Well, that's part of the fun. Part of the lore of Star Trek is being able to jump into it, and I think that's why Discovery has gotten such a bad rap. I think that's part of why Discovery has gotten kind of the crap on it has.
You and I disagree on this.
See, because I love Discovery and what they did. I appreciate them for what they did. Mm-hmm. And I think they did get a little heavy-handed in some of the social justice parts that I think that took away from a bit of the story. You know, more importantly, took away from characters. Characters they were trying to build and give us a little bit of love behind, and we were trying to appreciate them, learn, grow with them, and then all of a sudden it went too far off the rails where everyone started to get really into these tight, focused lenses. And that was one of the great things about the previous Star Trek stories, is it was always characters trying to grow, trying to learn more, trying to do more, trying to be more. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we get a lot of that in Discovery. We don't get a lot of growth. We get a lot of problem solving, which is interesting, but we don't get how this character built up and enough for us to care about this character building up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, 2 things on that. My thing with Discovery, and I don't want to go too far into Discovery because, again, I haven't watched the trailer, and I will watch the show. Mm-hmm. So I will continue with it. I'm excited to see where they take it because it's set so far into the future now. I'm not going to give away too much if somebody hasn't seen it, but because now it's completely out of any timeline in the Star Trek universe, I'm excited to see where it goes from there. How it got there, loved first season. Mm-hmm. Loved it. I thought the first season was great. Second season was very heavy-handed. I get it. I don't care, and this isn't a, like, female empowerment or anything. No. I get it. I don't care if all your characters are female.
Yeah,
if they're good, solid characters, have at it.
Exactly.
Go for it. And that's what bothered me. Is like Michael Burnham is such a I don't want to say trivial. What's the character type I'm looking for? But like, she's so
like 2-dimensional kind of.
No. In the first season, she's so much more.
Oh well, yeah. In the first season, she's fantastic. She's torn between that whole. She wants Sarek to be her loving father, but she doesn't have a loving parent, even though she has Amanda, who's a loving mother, but also a loving mother to Spock. And then there's just that whole. It's a very interesting dynamic to play with, and I really like that they did that. I'm glad they went that way with it. It's afterwards, like it's kind of what are you left with, and the way in season 2 they just didn't continue the line properly, I felt like they kind of took Burnham and just started kind of going all over the place. And they're like, what if she loses her mind completely?
I wanted the team to be more Buffy the Vampire Slayers type team than the team we got, which was, wow, somebody said something and I figured it out. Or, or they're all figuring it out at the same time. It's just so weird to me. It's weird writing.
Yeah.
And when I hear it, I'm like, oh, come on, just make somebody shine in this.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be everybody. And again, I don't care, man, woman, whoever. Just make somebody shine. Like somebody figure it out and take the right steps to get there.
And I think that was one of the big things that they did great, and I'm going to always go back to Next Gen just because it, for me, is the penultimate. DS9 did this perfectly as well, is they had everyone kind of know their role very, very, very well. If you had a leader, they were fantastic leaders. They knew how to delegate, they knew who needed what. If you had a starship captain versus actually having a space station captain, you could have those two very different standings, but they also knew how to command, and that was important. Yeah. And then from the command structure down, everybody kind of fell in line. You had Major Kira, who was in charge of her thing, but she was Bajoran up against these Cardassians. So that was a big deal. Mm-hmm. But then you flip it to the other side, and you don't have Michael Burnham against the Klingons the way you thought you would.
Yeah.
You kind of, everybody kind of is more expounded in Discovery, whereas they're more well-rounded characters. Even though they shouldn't have some of the knowledge they do, they kind of just pull out this, of course I know this answer.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, man, you used to go to Geordi, because Geordi was the one who had all the answers in one specific vein, Mm-hmm. He was stuck in that area. You didn't go to Data for that knowledge, even though Data might have had it. They kind of did that better in sparsing everything out and spreading everything out, whereas in Discovery, it's, hey, everybody, let's get together and try to think on this. Which I understand you're going to do that, especially after you have a crew that's been... You had an evil, not to give too much away, but you had an evil captain who was in charge of everything, and he was a better captain, a better leader than I think most.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Anson Mount as Captain Pike perfect. He was he was the highlight of that show for me, because 100%. He was, like they say in it, the best of Starfleet. He is the tops.
Which for me is just get rid of. I don't even need Discovery anymore. I will still watch it, see where it goes, but just do a Captain Pike show.
Oh, I would be. I'm in.
And Rebecca Romaine as his number one was terrific. Oh. Which, to bring it back around, because we're getting a little off topic.
Fair.
Picard's dog is called number one.
Yeah, I saw that. That was brilliant.
How amazing was that? And everything on that was just perfect. And I thought, going back to the trailer, it seems like he didn't lose a step.
Yep.
He's just older.
Yep.
And you're dealing with Picard, who's older. And they write it that way. So I'm so excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that he had enough of an influence in the writing room to say, Picard wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and I feel like you already get that just with that Riker interaction, right? When he's like, thanks for not trying to talk me out of it. And Riker's like, I've learned my lesson, I know that. Yeah. And it's like, because that was always the thing he tried to do. And by season maybe 3 or 4, he kind of stopped. He slowed down a little bit on that.
I'm so excited to see who else they bring in. It's going to be fun.
Oh, very much so. And I really hope that they bring in Harry Kim from Voyager and he's still an ensign.
Oh, God. Poor guy. Well, with that being said, why don't we go into the next thing, which is Captain Segway here. This rolls over from our last show.
Yes, which Michael was a king of the Segway.
The Segway. You never knew it was coming until I said it.
He just hit you like a 2x4 on the road.
Like a 2x4, and then you knew we were changing topic.
Exactly.
It's coming up, and this popped up, and this has been huge in the news for lots of weeks, since August, I want to say, and that was finally Spider-Man's back with Marvel.
Well, this has been
Sony and Marvel.
A tumultuous ride from the word go, because we had the very beginnings when it was enough that we lost Andrew Garfield as our amazing Spider-Man, who I always feel like did a great job. Mm-hmm. And I really love those storylines. Playing the Gwen Stacy end was perfect. I mean, it was nice to see that. Then we switched over to Tom Holland for Civil War, and I was a little leery at first, just hearing the news, and then you watch him, and it's like, this kid's got it. He's Peter Parker.
Great.
Nailed it. We get Homecoming, which was bloody brilliant.
I loved Homecoming.
It's so good.
Which is kind of funny to touch down on it. I thought it was a great movie, but I didn't love Far From Home, because there were some things in it that, like, Spider-Man for me is like the penultimate hero, because even Batman has wavered, Superman has wavered, all of the, you know, and I realize those are DC, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm making a point here. Captain America's wavered. You know,
Iron Man. How many times have we watched Tony question himself?
Iron Man was the type of character that would waver.
That is true, yeah.
So that's never really surprising to me.
Fair.
But when it comes to, like, Captain America, when everybody thinks back, they're like, Captain America's Captain America. Well, no, he became Nomad. No, he became Secret Soldier. He was done with it a lot of times. And yes, before everybody freaks out and is like, well, Spider-Man quit, that famous there's Spider-Man No More comic. He was, every time he quit, it was because he thought he killed somebody.
Yep.
And he was back to it by the end of that comic.
Yeah.
It was never a long run where he's not Spider-Man anymore.
It was a couple days of him struggling with it and trying to go through the motions and how does he feel about it.
Even Spider-Man No More was like a night. You know, like, he was like refreshed, like, I'm not Spider-Man anymore. I have to be Spider-Man. Like, because it's not my fault. It is, but it isn't. Like, I take on the guilt, but it's not my fault. It's like, I have to be out there. It's my responsibility to save people. And that's what I love about Spider-Man. He doesn't waver. Even when he wants... He wanted to quit when he got bit by that spider. He did not want this. He was done, but ever since Uncle Ben died, he can never quit. And Far From Home was like... It's almost... For me in the comics, it's almost been like... not that... It's like, yes, like I said, he can't quit, but it's a nagging thing. It's not that he doesn't want to.
Right.
It's not that he doesn't want to walk away. It's that he cannot, no matter where he goes. He doesn't get a vacation. He has to save people. It's inherent. It's who he is. So when he walked away from it, Far From Home, and was like, I just need a vacation. I don't want to do this. I get it.
Yeah.
I get the stress of being blipped out, coming back 5 years later. You just fought the biggest war probably ever in existence
with
in the
one
Marvel
of the
universe.
greatest ever scenes, just Cap throwing that hammer and saying, "Hey, Queens," up top. It's just, oh man.
You know, it's just all of that and so much more. And then you have Tony Stark. And if you don't know this by now, I don't care. I'm spoiling it. You have Tony Stark dead, who is his father figure.
Yeah.
Which they really did right. And then what bothers me is, like, I get it. I know he wants to quit. I know it's Spider-Man. I know he's saying he needs a vacation. I want him to take a vacation. I want a movie where Peter Parker can just hang out with MJ and not have to worry about anything for once. But that's not Spider-Man.
I was going to say, what is that going to be, like The Fault in Our Stars Part 2?
Right. Right? And I'd be okay with it because he needs that. But that's not Spider-Man. You cannot do that. He doesn't get a vacation.
That's what always is the hang-up in his relationship with MJ. And I think they play that perfectly all the time, is the fact that he always runs away.
Yeah.
And not from... He's always running towards danger.
Yes.
And I could see where that would be enough of a problem that you can't... How can you stay with that? How is that sustainable in a relationship? And I think they play that well.
Yeah.
This is the beginning. This is the start of something that's really fun. Yep. And we get to see this relationship grow, which is one of my favorites, has always been MJ. I know the Gwen story's great, and I do love the Gwen story, but I'm much more of an MJ fan. So the fact that they have Zendaya, who's crushing it as MJ,
she's doing great. And I love the lore changed.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be what it was because, as you know, and maybe some don't, she was the neighbor, and she was introduced after Gwen died, and Aunt May introduced them. And that famous line, "You've hit the jackpot now, Tiger." She didn't go to high school with them. So, you know, when the movies kind of made that and played that in, they never really... The first set of movies did not get Gwen Stacy right at all, and that bothers me.
No.
The second set of movies did.
Nailed it.
Third set, they just completely let it go, and they changed up MJ. They sort of made her like Gwen Stacy.
Right. They did that sort of tie-in with Lisa, almost making her the Gwen Stacy who gets affected by the father's death and has to move on, or in this case, incarceration, which was a fun tie into Tombs and having all that. That was neat.
But they didn't even touch it, and I'm okay with that. I would have been okay with that in the first set of movies. In the third one, you never touched Gwen Stacy, but for some reason, as much as I love Sam Raimi, kind of went off the wall with that one.
He did, yeah. He took it a little crazy pants. One of the things I am excited about is the fact that they are sticking with this new universe, the idea that there could be the multiverse.
Yes.
They've set that into motion because
I'm
that.
okay with.
Oh, it's great.
Do it all.
Do everything because that they've got the Venom. They've got a different Spider-Man, potentially could be from another universe. They have the doors open for a Miles Morales.
Yep.
He's already that's already covered. You've already kind of laid groundwork to where you could have a Gwen Stacy pop in, have a Spider-Gwen. You know, you could leave yourself open and have anything happen at this point. So it's very
absolutely.
exciting to see where they want to go, and it's more exciting that after the potential loss of Sony versus Disney, that fun little battle that took place.
Well, I say Sony would have been screwed.
Yeah, well, I agree.
They have no idea how to handle Spider-Man and make him like it was Marvel. I know they're saying that there are other people working on it besides Kevin Feige. I always say his name wrong.
But it's either Feige or Feige or Feig. I hear so many different versions. I don't even know.
Kevin the Man.
Yeah.
Kevin
F.
is the MCU. No, it was him. It was his vision. And now it was great that they had so many people from Sony being able to work in there, but they need him.
Yeah.
They need him, and you'd have to redo it. You can't do it with Tom Holland and make it work.
Yeah.
It just won't.
You cannot try to tie those after removing them. They're too closely wound together. And such an integral part of Tom Holland is his interactions with the MCU, with Iron Man.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Not mention Iron Man in the next Spider-Man movie? What? No, that doesn't play. I mean, he's literally got Happy as one of his buddies who's there all the time. What are you going to say? Sorry, Jon Favreau. You're under contract with MCU. We can't deal with you.
Who is the godfather of all of this. Like, if
Exactly.
it wasn't for him, none of it would have happened. So
Yep. And he is well deserving of every role ever. I think Happy should be in every movie from here on in. Minimum of 2 minutes screen time.
Yeah.
Kevin, if
I'm
you're
cool
listening.
with that. He should be in everything. He should tie everything together.
Exactly. He's a good thread to use.
Yeah, I agree. But very sincere thank you to Tom Holland for saving this.
How in the world you get a kid who has been given grief, and this is what made me laugh so hard. He has gone through so much of giving spoilers away, of messing up and slipping up and saying things he shouldn't have, because he's an excited kid. I'd be an excited kid. I'm in my 30s, and I'm pretty sure if I was in any position he was in, I wouldn't be able to help but blab. Like, I'd have to be careful. I'd have to watch out.
100%.
Because,
he just but he did it. And I had a feeling he would.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he was going to step in at some point and be like, we can't do this. We can't. And it's like, just get somebody new. And right now, he's Spider-Man. Like, you don't get anybody new. And even my issues with Far From Home, which are more superficial than anything,
Yeah.
It was still a great movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And they did so well to tie things together. Even bringing J. Jonah Jameson back in as a, what's his name? That crazy guy on InfoWars.
Oh, like, what in the world is Alex Jones?
Alex
so
Jones.
having an Alex Jones
My
type
favorite
ass-
actor from Jason versus Freddy, who's not Robert Englund.
I do love that they have, because I've been playing the Spider-Man video game. I really got into it.
Oh, okay.
I got heavily into it. And they have the J. Jonah Jameson doing those bits. It's
Nice.
J.K. Simmons. And every time you cruise through and you complete a mission or task, he has something to say about it. And it's always the either spin on Spider-Man screwed us. Like, it's great,
Oh
man.
my god! And that was another thing. It's like you can't leave such a cliffhanger like that and then say we're not working with Marvel anymore. What?
Yeah, like they suddenly think they have it all figured out. That's kind of what my feeling was when Sony did this. Is they were like, we got it covered. Don't worry. We've used you. Haha, we'll get ahead. And then I feel like they just put 15 writers in a room. Everyone looked at something they had scribbled down and went, nah.
In the famous words of
we're
Seth
done.
Rollins, we're gonna burn it down, Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you screw us on this.
Burn it down!
And now we're back.
Yeah, so thank you, Tom Holland. That was fantastic. Great work. Way to get mommy and daddy to quit arguing and get together.
Don't worry, we will see Spies in Disguise just for you. Even though we do not care about the movie. We have kids, so we'll go see it.
Yeah, that's...
It's the one where Will Smith's spy turns into a pigeon.
Yep. Should be interesting. I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, you gotta shake
emphatically.
No, it's exciting stuff though.
Ooh, that's a fun little spin, by the way. So since we're kind of in the trailer vein, have you seen the Gemini Man trailer?
I have.
Will Smith? That looks interesting.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Kind of like Looper interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I was really fascinated to see what they were doing with Looper just because it was different. And it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt dressing up more like Bruce Willis. And it was like, all right, let's see how this rolls. So I'm kind of I'm interested and excited to that degree.
Because when I first saw the trailer for it back when the first trailer had come out. Sorry, I was at a point where I'm like, what is this? Does he go back in time? He's going to kill himself, or like a Looper, like you said,
right?
And now as it's gone on, it's made more sense. Where it's like, oh, he's a clone, and they cloned him, and that's just what it is. The young clone has to kill the new one, and he's a much better prototype.
Yep, and it's his turn to take over, and then he'll run whatever department or thing Will Smith is doing, so that way they can kind of perpetually just keep it going.
But, I mean, that's nowhere near as exciting as Bad Boys for Life.
Ooh, Bad Boys for Life.
Mike Lowry's back. And I don't care what anybody says. I love the Bad Boys movies.
Hey, man, I am with you. They are fantastic. They are some of the greatest movies since, 1997? Whatever, when the first one came. I loved the first one.
Oh,
and
I still love the first one. This is the fastest car in the entire known world. You better beat him. And then he makes it through the whole... why is there a wall there? It makes no sense. They're in an airport and there's a wall there.
Because it's a Michael Bay production. There's always a wall and an explosion and probably a tank somewhere.
In Miami airport, there's better walls than certain presidents are trying to build. Now, that does not mean I am for it. I'm just saying they're there.
They exist.
You can leave that hole there. I'm cool with it, but whatever. You know what? In fact, maybe that's how we get holes in the wall.
Is that it?
We're just like, Mike Lowry needs to drive through this.
Clearly.
Oh, well, it wasn't Mike Lowry. It was Martin's character.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence's character.
Martin Lawrence's character. Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, no, I can't.
And I don't want to get political. This isn't NPR.
We don't talk low enough.
But anyway, that wall was ridiculous. Because remember, the other guy hit the wall.
Yeah.
Like 110 miles an hour, and then just no. He got out of the car. He had to limp out.
Yeah.
And then they shot him. Remember?
Yep.
And oh my god. And Tia Leone. Oh,
she was fantastic back in the day.
She was.
She was one of my favorite humans on this earth. I was like, good night, Irene. Who is this woman?
And what was it? She was her friend basically brought her to a party to be a prostitute for the night. Because that's a thing. You just hang out with a friend and you're like, oh, I'll prostitute for a night.
That's of course. I mean, I did.
Maybe it is. I don't
Back
know.
in our earlier days, I thought we did it. Were we not doing that?
I wasn't taking money.
Oh, okay.
I was just,
Well, I wasn't taking money, but I heard, cigarettes are the same. So it was back then when we were doing
I don't know where you were. There might have been some more walls and bars, but...
I don't know. Everyone seemed really nice, and the dress code was easy.
Fair enough. Anyway, yes, so I did see Gemini Man trailer. Classic segue.
Bringing it back. But yeah, Bad Boys is going to be fantastic. I mean, you never go wrong with those. Those are just fun movies.
I love the second one when the boats are flying on the freeway, and I'm in. I don't care. That's what it is.
It's Michael Bay and Bruckheimer, man. They're the same fucking dudes. Sorry.
It's all right.
I was working on getting better about that.
We'll give you one.
All right.
This is rated mature.
Yes.
For everyone who can handle that word. But we will try not to say that.
Yes, trying to avoid that. We'll work on bleeping and having fun bleep effects.
I don't know about all that, but...
Go through and try to find every single one.
Just skip that one.
Yeah, just pretend you didn't hear it.
We'll try not to. We're just in the excitement. That's
it
what
is,
came out.
yeah, getting amped up. Especially for Bad Boys, because it's so good. And hey, it was one of those early rated R movies where you get to hear a lot of cursing and watch a lot of action. So... For me, being, a freshman in high school when that came out, I was like, heck yeah, this is where it's at.
Were you? Oh,
yeah,
man. So, wait, no, were you a freshman? No, that came out earlier, didn't it?
97, I thought.
No.
Was it earlier? Was it 95?
Might have been 95.
Okay.
I have to look that up because I think I was in 7th or 8th grade. No, older than you.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, I mean, not by much. Not like I'm not dating myself here.
That's all right, old fart.
But now because I thought I was like 7th, 8th grade when I came out. 95.
Oh no, he was 95.
So
okay, yep.
Because I graduated in 96 from 8th grade.
Okay, yeah.
So I was in 7th.
Because I just remember my buddy bringing it over in freshman year on VHS cassette. Because that's what I had downstairs in the basement. So we'll watch that and Starship Troopers. Those were always on constant go.
Starship Troopers was just great.
That's classic.
It was funny because I went and saw that with Psycho Cinema, which is a popular Alamo Drafthouse club that we go to where they watch some really awesome horror movies and kung fu movies and so much more.
Which I have to say, they gave me Halloween on the big screen and changed the perception of one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh my God!
Just by seeing Michael Myers more in those window shots than I ever saw in the VHS.
I want to save this. Okay. I want to do a Halloween episode where we talk about this.
I'm in.
Because we did see so much more.
Oh yeah.
And it was amazing. And there's a lot of things. You just said, oh yeah.
No, I just spit a little.
Oh, I don't
care.
Sorry. Don't curse. But no, you're right. And so much. We did see so much more, but I do want to talk about that because
we'll
it's
put
such
that
a
in
pinnacle movie of horror. So Psycho Cinema showed
is fantastic.
Starship Troopers.
Which I'm bitter I missed because that is my number one heartfelt, in my soul, favorite movie at any time.
And I realized when I went to see it, I'm like, oh, I did see this in theaters when it first came out.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, oh, I saw it opening night. I forget who it was. I was either with my buddy Ty or it might have been my buddy Anthony. I wasn't with Lenny, though.
Okay.
He knows all these guys. I know you guys don't know all these guys, but Casey knows them. So, and the reason I bring that up is because, like, sci-fi was like, and horror were like, okay, we're going with the guys.
Right,
the
yeah,
girls
of
don't
course.
want to go, so the guys. And we
you
saw
take
Starship
the girls
Troopers.
to, like, fancy movies, like Schindler's List and whatnot.
Oh, God. Schindler's List?
All right, it's a moving,
God.
It's moving and touching.
Oh, on so many levels. Although you can't help but cry at the end when they're putting the rocks on his grave.
Oh my gosh, that's one of the hardest things to watch.
I could have got more. Oh my God, could have saved more. It's insane. But in this climate, I don't want to stick up for Liam Neeson until I know it's okay.
Yeah, I know. We should just wait.
We only talk about Dark Man. We're only allowed to talk about Dark Man.
Well, that was the time frame in which the bad thing happened with Mr. Neeson. So
was it, or was it next of kin? We're not really sure.
Maybe in between with Rob Roy. All right, I could be.
Remember that Patrick Swayze and Liam Neeson movie with the
Next
brothers?
of Kin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I not well. I just know it existed.
Yeah,
It's like one of those when you see the movie cover, it's like I know I've seen that. Kind of like the first time I remember seeing Tango and Cash. Like, ooh. I know I saw that one, but I didn't actually watch it. So it wasn't until I was older and then sat down again and was like, let me have some time with this movie. Because it was one of those you see on TNT or USA growing up, and you don't really get stuck to the TV.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oof, like, it's bad, but I love it. It's good action.
Well, it reminds me almost exactly of the other guys when you have Sam Jackson and The Rock in the very beginning screaming aim for the bushes as they jump off a building. That's what Tango and Cash was. It was literally that.
He did, remember? Oh my God.
It was perfect.
Are we going to get shocked? Maybe.
Yeah, you grab electrical lines and just zip line down them.
Like, I don't want... See, so many people... And I love the Rambo movies, don't get me wrong. I actually love 2 the most out of all of them.
See, and I love 3 the most, just because there was...
You just love those glistening muscles.
It was more explodey boom booms. And I love explodey boom booms.
No, I don't know. 2 is wild,
Okay, 2 was pretty rough, and 2 had the hind. Actually, whichever one had the hind at the end, where they fought the helicopter and he blows them up.
That was 2.
Okay, then that is actually the one I prefer. Oh, because 3rd's when he has to go to the desert and save the general, right?
He's fighting with the Afghanis against Russia.
That's right, okay.
2 is when he goes to save the POWs.
That's right.
Which is my favorite one. Yeah. And like when he grabs the microphone and he's just like, Murdoch, I'm coming for you. And like he beats everybody up in the room. And I'm like, that's Rambo. That's what Rambo should be. And that's what this new one I'm hearing is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't see it yet.
I haven't seen it yet. A lot of people are, it's the gruff that it's getting online, I think, is it's weird how we've reached this era where I couldn't love social justice warriors more. I think it's fantastic. I think they're necessary.
No,
I think it creates
hate social justice
warriors. But I think it creates.
I like justice warriors.
Oh, fair.
Like, don't talk about it online.
Yeah.
Go out and do something. So I love the people who go out and not just talk about it online, but do go out and
Actions
do something.
behind it, yes.
You know, so like true justice warriors who are out there trying to do their best. But social justice warriors who are just trying to create controversy, which I think 90% of the time when it comes to being online, people are trying to create controversy.
Well, agreed.
But again, I don't want to get so far into that because
No, that is true. That is true. But that is more of a stirring the pot thing. But that's why I dislike that, is because there's been such a spin on Rambo because, he's going against a Mexican cartel? This is Rambo Taken. That's what, it doesn't matter who he's killing, he's going to kill a lot of them. Yeah. It's like we didn't hear anyone complaining about the fact that Liam Neeson was going out killing, Middle Easterners. There was no issue there, or whatever. There's. It's so funny how people change the focus and want to put that lens on one thing and go, "Oh, this is how I feel about it," and it's Rambo.
Well, everything is a product of its time.
Precisely.
So, like when Taken came out, we were like in the middle of the war in Afghanistan, Iraq, and like it's almost like I said, the villains in the movies and TV, sad to say but true, is a product of like the time. You know, and I mean, look how, I've been taking Tommy to a bunch of Psycho Cinema movies, and he's like, why does everybody hate Russia? And then I had to explain the Cold War to him on the entire ride home, and it's like, because that's what the product of the time was. And I think so many people get bent out of shape when they don't realize, like, I think Taken, if it had come out today, would be more controversy.
Yeah, agreed.
But since it came out 10 or 11, 12 years ago, maybe, and the second one came out, and that was like 10 years ago or whatever. Yeah. But remember, the third one was closer in time, and he was being chased.
Right.
There was no real bad guy except the government, who was a shady government, which is product of what it is now. Mm-hmm. That's what the world is. Which
I think actually fits, because it's funny how we get these cycles, and being the movie geeks that we are, we're able to follow these lines, if you kind of see that red string theory of everything.
Yep.
Because you have Taken, and then you have these, sorry, I just brain farted on that whole line there.
Well, to bring a point home, like, because we were talking about social justice warriors, justice warriors, and such. She should be the geek of the rest of the year. Geek of the quarter, we'll call her. Yeah. And that's a high honor, in my opinion.
Right.
That Greta Thunberg.
Thunberg, yeah.
Oh my God! If you are complaining or causing a controversy online, you're doing nothing about it, then I have no respect for you. But this girl started such a great movement, and and let me be honest, when I first heard about her, and I didn't know anything about her, it was from how she yelled at everybody. And I guess my old brain kicked on and was like, why is this child yelling at everybody? I'm like, that's not right. And then I'm like, well, look. And then I started thinking about it like pretty quickly. I was like, yeah, look who she's yelling at. Like, why am I upset? Like, they should be yelled at. Like,
these are world leaders that we've never defended in the first place, that we always put down or have some sort of great issue with, or that we just have some sort of discussion about where they're failing at. This is a girl who's just coming out saying, hey, yeah, you guys are failing at it, and someone should be on top of this. You know?
Why does she deserve it? Because not only did she start a movement, she took a sailboat.
Yeah.
She took a sailboat here to talk.
Yeah.
That's why she is the geek of the year. I'm even giving her the year. I'm not even giving her a quarter.
Well, we got a short year going, so we are in October.
But she's the geek of the year. And the reason I say she's the geek of the year, because she's a geek for social activism to save the planet, and that's awesome in my opinion. So have at it and listen to her. Mm-hmm. She's smarter than I am, and she's probably smarter than everybody in that room. And she's inheriting their. That's when I realized, especially having kids, that's when I realized as soon as I came around and was like, stop getting mad that a child is yelling at us because you're old and you don't like when children yell at you.
Yeah, you're not used to it and it hurts.
Not what she was saying. What she was saying was right.
Correct.
But I'm like, child's yelling at me, so get defensive. No, take that out of account and take her words and say, she's right. This isn't our world anymore. Mm-hmm. We're the ones that are going to have to be taken care of at some point. Yep. So we need to take care of this now and start making the changes we need to now.
Correct.
Or get out of the way.
Exactly. If you don't want to make the changes, that's fine. Yeah. You don't have to make the changes. But move aside. Because there's a bigger thing coming through, and if you really, I stand by this, if you're one of those people who is going to run on the idea of the children being important or their futures, then you have to actually mean it, and you have to show that, and you have to back it up. And a lot of times, they don't.
Yeah.
It's been consistently that whole, think of the children, but then no one does.
No one does.
So we're at that point where the children are standing up for themselves. Okay. I mean, I remember when I stood up for myself one of the first times. I was 17, going in front of the state senate to discuss bullying. And it's like, that's where I went with it. And I stood up for myself, and I went out there and realized that these people just don't care. The older generation, the 50, 60-year-olds who are already in power.
Because they were the bullies.
Correct.
They were.
Yep.
And that's just because, again, as being geeks growing up, I'm 6'8". I'm like 450 pounds. And I was a geek. I got picked on. Like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
So, I'm built like a shit brick house. You're not doing it to me now. But in high school, I wasn't built like this.
Exactly.
So, when you see these people, it's like, this geek of the year, Greta Thunberg, who sailed here.
Yeah.
There are people who complain that their cars are too cold when they get in the morning. This girl sailed here to yell at us and tell us to get our stuff together, and she deserves for us to listen. Not just her, all the young people.
Yes,
and that's why and I don't want to go too far into this. All I'll say is that's why when it comes to these young activists stepping up and saying, whether it be shootings, whether it be racial, whether it be whatever, and they're coming out and they're speaking out and trying to say, listen to us. We need to listen.
Yes.
We need to listen. And I don't want to stand on a soapbox and say, as older guys, and we are two old white guys,
yep,
we need to listen. Because we need to get out of the way.
Because there's a level of pride that we have to remove from ourselves.
Yeah.
This indignant idea that the sitcom dad has to be this certain way, so we have to be this certain mentality. And we just have to remove ourselves from that. That's all it is. We're not going to be the Tim Allen know everything, fix everything guy. We're just not going to be that guy anymore.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad thing to have masculinity. It's not a bad thing to want to take care of your things and show off your muscles and be able to flex, but make sure you're flexing in the right direction. If it's not something you know about, just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know about it, that's okay too.
Oh, I am certainly not smart enough to say both.
And not to mention, if we don't have the Greta Thunbergs in the world, then, in my opinion, we're never getting to Roddenberry's Star Trek universe, which I think we still can. I still fully believe that. It can 100%. Be realized.
I mean, I don't think anybody... how anybody doesn't want that. Right. Although it's Discovery. Discovery doesn't even want that. All right. We gotta move on. We're going too far. And I don't want to piss off too many people.
Well, not yet. We gotta ease into it before we start turning people against us.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing for me is going forward though, and talking about rich white men in power that think they're saviors.
Tony Stark.
It's been a big week in wrestling.
Oh man. Ho ho.
It's been a big week in wrestling.
Oh brother.
Got him right there.
Yep.
The Macho Man right there.
I see him, the Macho Man.
He's the best, man.
He's amazing.
I was a Hulkamaniac.
Yeah, but I love Macho because he had, for me, the best promos. His promos to me were like what always stuck with me. Him and the Legion of Doom were some of my favorites because Hawk and Animal.
Because they were so coked out. Everybody was so coked out back then.
Yeah, I guess I just like the coked out era because Sid Vicious was another one that I loved. So when he was Captain Blowface.
Lex Luger.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Sting. God. Come on, man.
Oh,
when he was California Stinger.
You leave beautiful Sting alone. Sting was my hero.
Well, Brutus the Barber Beefcake was one of my heroes, and we all see where that went.
Exploded.
Yeah, it did.
God. But...
Hey, and that, kids, is why you don't do drugs.
Damn right. But it's been a big week for wrestling. It's been such a big resurgence. Being Attitude Era wrestling fans. And that goes back, because 80s kids, Hulkamaniacs, loving all of the WWF back then. And now to see what it's become, because living through the Attitude Era when they had to get edgy and they had to win the Monday Night War.
Well, no, so getting the Monday Night Wars. I mean, that for me was my big thing, because I love WCW so much, because those storylines were so fulfilling. They were big, and the characters were bigger, and they were focused for me on the characters more about it. You know, you got more DDP, you got more wrestling. To actually, the cool thing was back in those days when they had the wrestling to kind of answer the questions, like the little promos with the little byways, and then they went into the wrestling, and it was always maelstrom because someone was coming out or from the rafters with a bat, or someone was coming from under the ring with something. And WWE did it well too, but WWE had Stone Cold, it had D-Generation X, they had that big movement, and they rode that wave.
Well, what imploded for WCW was the wrestlers had too much power.
Yeah.
And even, like, Kevin Nash has said that, and Scott Hall has said that. Hogan would never really say that, but, like, we all know
because
Hogan
he wanted the power,
now.
yeah.
But, like, even, like, Kevin Nash was like, no, I was a booker, and if he wanted to take off, he was done. He was gone for months. Like, whatever, he didn't care. So there's no consistent storylines, and nobody really cared what was going to happen. Whereas Vince and his, like, his entourage came in and was just like, we're going to run with this, we're going to tell good stories, it's going to be a great soap opera, and it'll be fun.
Yep.
And you had amazing people like The Rock, you had amazing people like Mankind, Undertaker, Stone Cold, like, everybody was just great. They were real characters. Like, WCW had some great wrestlers.
Yes, they did.
But they didn't have great characters. NWO was great.
Yeah.
Sting was great. They did
DDP
have great characters.
was awesome. I did love... There were certain characters that I loved, and for me it was that first split of NWO. Because now you have who's going to come to the rescue of the quote-unquote good guys. You know, and I kind of dug that simplicity in it, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was just very easy to get across. But the WWE was doing the same thing with Vince versus Stone Cold. You have the corporation versus the everyman who's fighting back against it. And I mean, who doesn't love that story? I mean, everybody's on board with that storyline.
And it just has so much, and having Vince run with it would help so much.
Yeah, him really
Vince was
embracing
like, I'll be the
that.
bad guy.
Yeah.
And taking that on, and then making Stone Cold the anti-hero who's going to stop the evil organization. And he's not even like Everyman. He's like what Everyman wanted to be.
Yeah.
That badass, you know.
You can stand up and say, take this job and shove it in that David Allen Coe manner.
And I love that they let The Rock guide it. The Rock took it away and was like, we'll bring it back more to wrestling. This is sports entertainment. This is what it is. And he was bigger than life, whereas Stone Cold wasn't bigger than life.
Right.
He was like the gritty guy you needed to get you to beat the war.
Yeah.
Afterwards, you had The Rock to kind of take you on
To
that
guide
journey.
you. Yeah.
And then pass the torch on to the John Cena's and such. And then slowly but surely we lost storylines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the storylines have not been good. The rivalries have not been good for a while.
There's a lot of stuff that, like, when I was trying to get back into wrestling, actually, and this happened previous to us really hanging out when S.H.I.E.L.D. was big. S.H.I.E.L.D. had just kind of hit the scene.
Yeah, but they had great characters like that.
They had amazing characters, but there was no storyline to use them in. You know, like, you just kind of get lost in these great characters, but the storylines weren't succinct enough to keep me going. You know, it's not enough. It's one day they're kind of good, one day they're kind of bad, and they couldn't decide what they wanted to do with certain characters, and it just felt wishy-washy.
Well, it felt like whoever, if Vince McMahon didn't like them, but even if the entire WWE universe wanted them to be it, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, if Vince didn't want you to be the face of the company, you weren't going to be the face.
Well, then we get the other side, where if Vince wants you to be the face of the company, he slams a Superman punch down your throat over and over and over again.
I am so glad that guy's okay.
Yeah, thank God.
He's back, and
thank goodness for his health. He is a great character and an
awesome
awesome
man,
dude.
too.
Yeah, good
he's
dude.
a good dude. Roman Reigns, no lines in Hobbs vs. Shaw, but I love them anyway. It was good to see him there. And I like him. I hate the Superman punch.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that move on everything, though.
Yeah.
Like, I hate whenever somebody does a Superman. I was like, this doesn't work.
It's miserable.
What are you doing? Superman doesn't do the Superman punch.
Exactly.
And the only reason he could pull it off is because he's flying at you, not falling at you because you jumped up.
Right, which is kind of the whole thing, like, with the closest thing to it that I will allow and accept in my little world for sports entertainment is the phenomenal forearm. That's the closest thing you can get to it, because he's launching himself off the ropes. It's a forearm, which is way harder than a fist. Like, it's just...
I don't know about all that. You don't break your forearm. You keep doing that. And as much as I love the phenomenal one, That's a stupid move too.
I disagree. I love that move, man. That's what you can get amped for.
But you can't like hold that up, and then you look at somebody like Cedric, I mean, well, you can't really. Rey Mysterio is not what he once was.
Well,
he still moves like a maniac. But
wish I could move like that, man.
Ricochet.
There you go.
You can't look at somebody like Ricochet or Cedric or these high flying guys, and you're just like phenomenal form works. And it's like no, what these guys are doing are so. I mean, this was what Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho even and all these guys were back in the day.
Yeah.
And in WCW, and even in WWE later, but especially WCW. And then you look at something like Phenomenal Forum, and you're like, it's cool. I'll accept it for sports entertainment. I will not accept the Superman punch. I hate the Superman punch. He should just do the
spear.
The spear. He's great at it. He's got a beautiful spear.
Yep.
Do it. Oh my God.
He's got a spear that looks as good as Goldberg's. And as far as I'm concerned, Goldberg had the perfect spear. I mean, I loved his spear. He was just a monster doing it. So, of course, it's a different effect. Roman Reigns is a big guy. He's still, that spear, pretty potent and powerful. And then the fact that that's a setup move for the Superman punch is just dumb. Because you see Goldberg do it, and it's like, well, that just laid him out. Like, they're done.
And they've already ruined it, because how many people has he fought where it's like, he stood up to it? Michael Cole, who I can't. Oh, my God. Corey Graves and Renee were doing so good together. And it's all changed up now, but if you had gotten rid of Michael Cole and just let those two, you would have a new generation. A lot of people are going to be pissed about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You'd have a new generation like Monsoon and Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Or Jerry the King Lawler, maybe?
No. It's definitely not a Jerry the King. I think they're better than Jerry the King.
Really?
He was great. And Jim Ross, the best.
Well, Jim Ross, classic.
But and they were a great duo.
Yeah.
But they were more adversarial. Renee and Corey were always going back and forth at each other, just like the Brain and Gorilla were always doing. Yeah. And I liked it. And I liked how they're playing. And then you have Michael Cole be like, oh my God, the Superman punch. How did they get out of it? Like, easily. It doesn't work. And I know suspension of disbelief or whatever, and I shouldn't be like this, but I'm going off on a tangent about the Superman. You had to say it.
No, well, because it's my favorite.
There's so much that happened in wrestling this week. So much we haven't even touched down on. We haven't even gotten to AEW yet.
Because, Mike, after all these years, I still know how to touch that one button that always brings some of the greatest radio. Just there's nothing better than watching you go off about the Superman punch.
He's such a beautiful spirit, too. And they go to
He's just a glorious human being. How come he can't do something off the ropes? How come he can't... the Taker... How come he hasn't learned to walk on the ropes? Taker has some of the greatest moves ever. I mean, you got a tombstone
pile driver. For a while, and Taker was not happy about it.
Really?
From what I understand, he wasn't, but I don't know for 100% sure. But I mean, not in a way where Elias is buried or anything, but just kind of like, don't do my move.
I mean, I get
that's a very specific move.
But so's the stunner. That was given to KO. So
yes, but I mean, if you think about it, I mean, all the RKO is a stunner.
Well, it's a flying stunner. It's a flying stunner.
It's
you mean the RKO out of nowhere?
The way Randy does it is beautiful in a way that's like, I almost like it a little bit more than the stunner, just for showmanship wise, because it's like they didn't even know it was coming. Like with the stunner, you had to wait for him to turn around and kick and go. It was a whole big stunner, and it was beautiful, and the storylines led to it being even more beautiful. Mm-hmm. But like with the RKO, it's just like he's the Viper. Yeah. He's going to attack.
Yep, and he's going to get it, and you're not going to be ready for it. I mean, he's phenomenal. But I've always loved Randy Orton. He's one of my favorites. I mean, I didn't like him when I was younger because he was a bad guy. Like he was one of those when he came on the scene. I was like, I'm not a fan of this guy because he's a bad guy, and he was at the time the Legend Killer, and he was just wiping out everybody I loved, and I was like, well, this sucks. But then the more you watch him, it's like he's an incredibly technical wrestler who's really good. And has a great personality. I just love the way he plays it, whether he's heel or face. He almost just always, he's the Viper. Yeah. That's just what he is. And I think it's better when you have a character who doesn't play into their face or heel tendencies. They just are their character.
Yeah.
And whatever storylines make them either heel or face.
That's what I like. That's why I like about John. I like a lot of things about John Cena. John Cena as a human being does some awesome things. As a wrestler, I mean, he's not like my favorite. I don't love the cartoonishness of his character, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
You know, we're Attitude Era kids. This is for children. And they eat it up. They love it. So I'm cool with it. They never give up. You know, dude does over 600 Make-A-Wish appearances.
Oh, yeah.
You're a winner in my book.
Like he's crushing it. He used his power for good. He is a good comic book hero, essentially.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's perfect for the WWE. I think
they needed it at that point.
Yeah, of course. And it does, look, it gets old because when you're the one-trick pony Superman who's always victorious, that's what you are. And you're the good guy who's always fighting for right. So, I mean, it kind of gets stale. It does get wooden.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop it from being entertaining. And that's important.
But, you know what made it entertaining again is now there's competition.
Oh, here we go. So the one thing we used to always love, our Monday Night Wars, are back.
Ooh, and then we needed them. I don't think we realized how much we needed them. And just to see AEW step up with their first episode, and man, they blew NXT out of the water. Which I'm not a big NXT guy. Like watching it was
right.
Just because it was Raw Monday, it was SmackDown Tuesday, and it was like NXT Wednesday. I'm like, it's just so much at that point.
It's a lot.
And when you have 2 nights where the storylines aren't great, and you know NXT is going to be better in storylines, but it's like, it's too much wrestling.
See, for me, I had the deal where NXT, for me, I like the storylines more, but I had a lot more issue with the technicality because they're not all perfect technical wrestlers yet. You know, you have those that, and plus you can really see the difference between a Ricochet, a Johnny Gargano, the Blackheart. You can see their skill and technical ability versus someone who's new on the scene, and you see that pretty blatantly. But I also like that about WWE because you had Marty, the Rock and
Marty,
who essentially, like, towards the end of his career, just became walk in and lose guy. Like, you had a lot of those.
He was a jobber after that.
Yeah,
after
exactly.
Shawn Michaels kicked him through the window, he was a jobber.
So you have a lot of jobbers like that, and I think NXT kind of plays that well. That these aren't jobbers, though, they're the young upstarts.
Yeah, the problem is, like, they've been oversaturating the market lately, but now with AEW, you have all these fresh faces, so you know if you're a wrestling fan, but you don't need to know if you're stepping in, because you have the Cody Rhodes, who, even if you don't know who he is, you're going to learn quick because of who his dad is.
Right. I mean,
his brother Dustin being there, you know. And then you have the champion be Chris Jericho, who is one of the most recognizable, if not best, promo men of all time.
I mean, across all of wrestling. I mean, since the Attitude Era in WCW, he came out in WCW, correct? Or did he come out in WWE and then went to WCW? Or
he was in WCW.
Okay, that's where
came over.
But that's right, and then it became the Y2J. And
Y2J. Oh my God, I love the countdown. When they were doing the countdown for all that time.
It was awesome.
And he showed up and cut off the Rock. It was great. Loved it.
Yeah, they did some good storylines, and we've got a lot of good wrestlers from different areas in AEW. You've got New Japan.
My God, New Japan's great. I don't really watch Impact anymore. When it was TNA, sure, because they had the Legends, but I mean, it wasn't going to ever be anything like
WCW. Not WCW,
yeah, because they were all old by that point.
Exactly.
I do like that Impact was teasing WWE about the Hogan Ric Flair teams for Crown Jewel, because they did that back in the day,
right? Exactly.
Team Hogan, Team Flair.
Yep.
And so they posted it. I was like, hey, it's a really good idea. You know, and like, it was funny. Like I do like that WWE's getting ripped on a little bit, and they're getting kicked in the gut a little bit.
I think they need to. I think you and I have seen that, where NXT was that moment of taking something away from Vince, and not taking it as much as Vince finally kind of being willing to let go a big chunk of power there. And we get to see Triple H really step up.
Yeah.
And Triple H has always been phenomenal as a wrestler through all of his years. He was the Connecticut Blue Blood, so of course I immediately latched on to him, being a Connecticut boy myself. I was like, yeah, I like that guy.
NXT had a great show this week. Though.
Exactly, they were phenomenal.
It was a switch over for me, but at the same time, like, it was AEW. I was like, I want to see what happens in AEW. I want to see them plant their flag there. Why did I forget that? I wanted to see them plant their flag and see what they were going to do. So I didn't watch NXT this week, but I'm going to start checking in because Finn Balor's back. Mm-hmm. They had some great matches. And listen, I'll watch some of their matches and highlights and things like that. I may not watch the show, but like I still respect good wrestling, and Absolutely. NXT has some great wrestlers. Yep. And Raw has been getting much better. This past SmackDown this week, which premiered on Fox, was definitely done up, but I'm hoping they can keep it up.
See, here's the thing with what they did in AEW versus SmackDown. And this is something that just being a fan long enough to kind of understand the difference between these two. You have AEW coming out, and I go back to that Cody Rhodes because it was very much so for me a signature match where you get to see him just bust out all of his moves. Like you get to, in a lot of the AEW wrestlers, they all got to use their moves. They pulled a lot of big players out. You know, they get to show the big show. Yeah. This is who we've got. This is what we can do. And it was magnificently well done. And you have on SmackDown on the other end, everything we've known. Everything we've seen, the known commodity, now on Fox, and all they did was traipse all of the known commodities out and say, hey, this is what everyone can do. Yeah. You know, I mean, you had that one where we got the 6-man tag match or 8-man tag match where you've got the phenomenal forearm coming out versus the RKO out of nowhere versus, I mean, just everybody got to whip their moves out. Everybody got to pull them out. You know, Kofi Kingston losing
like 8 seconds
to freaking Brock Lesnar, who's just the worst wrestler ever, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say the worst.
I'm sorry, man, but you've got the monster among men, and you're not using him right. So I would much rather see him take that role, and I think he is a better character.
That was the thing that pissed me off the most, as much as I like Braun. How underutilized and how many storylines that were screwed up.
Yeah.
They set him up so many times perfectly to have great matches. Mm-hmm. Even against Roman.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? You're dropping a ball. Who cares about everything else? Like, shut
up.
Yeah,
and Braun Strowman are you kidding me? He's going to be taken down by a Superman punch. You're out of your mind.
God.
You're out of your mind. It took 4, whatever it was.
4 or 5. It's like, oh my God, he's getting up there. Shut up, Michael Cole. Like, we know. Like, Superman punch doesn't work. So, and I know how this works, but I know it's not real. But come on, not that it's not real, but like they're beating up their bodies. Yes. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, but it's storyline.
You know, he's not really going to kill him with the Superman
punch.
You know, like. I get it, but like just something prettier. Like you're a good wrestler. Yeah. Come on, give us something prettier.
And he could give us something prettier. Like you said, he's got that spear. The spear's fantastic.
I would argue that he has a better spear than Goldberg, and I know.
You just set the world on fire.
No, Goldberg had a beautiful. He's got definitely a better one than Goldberg now.
Well, yeah, because Goldberg's like 60 and his spine is fused and everything else. But you have to remember, Goldberg was just the beast.
Yes,
and that was the best part about him, was his monstrous size, and the idea of him launching himself through the air with that spear was phenomenal. Especially when he gave him 2 or 3, and it was like, oh, yes.
I loved, somebody assessed the fact that Hulk Hogan was on Raw this week, and was like, at one point this year, he had more appearances in the WWE than Brock Lesnar did. And Brock Lesnar was the champion. Yeah, so like, it's like, what?
That's why I don't like Lesnar, man. Just one of those things. I've never really liked him. He was the 10-second match guy, and he did it again with another 8-second match. And I think that hurts SmackDown in the long run. I think if they continue to play those storylines, because I'm not sure how they're going to marry everything. Because they had that whole Raw versus SmackDown, and they had for so long, it was 2 different companies, or as they were billed as separate. And now it looks like they're kind of fusing at everything. And I don't know if that is a product of moving to the new networks, or if they're getting ready to do another mix-up. And maybe
they're setting up Kane and Lesnar for WrestleMania, but they'll do it on SmackDown now.
Yeah.
And it will be Friday nights, which now I won't have a problem watching wrestling all week. Watching AEW and switching back between NXT and such, and watching Raw and watching SmackDown. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a fair spread.
Well, yeah, because you still have Tuesday, Thursday for, like, right now, horror movies. Like, I mean, this is our time of year. Like,
oh, no, I watched a horror movie.
Watch it
I think I'm new? I mean, come on. In fact, I have. I've watched, like, a horror movie every day this week.
Yes!
I was like, I'm going to watch this. Like, I'm currently watching In the Tall Grass.
Mm. How is it?
So far, so good.
Okay.
It's interesting, because I'm in the I can't really say one way or the other how it's going to go.
Well,
but
of course,
it's based on a novella by that Stephen King and Joe Hill, his son, did together.
Okay.
And it's just interesting where it's at, because I'm kind of like, oh, it's I don't want to give anything away, but it's like, oh, it's that. This is what's happening. Mm-hmm. But you don't know, because I'm in the middle.
Right, yeah. Like, you don't have anything verified yet. It
seems like this is what's happening.
Yeah.
It seems interesting. So I'm anxious to see where it goes. I'm kind of leaving myself in the dark about it. Mm-hmm. I didn't read anything up on it. I've never read the novella, so I don't know what happens. And you know me, I love King, so like I'll read, and I've started reading Joe Hill's books, and he's very good too. Yeah, he's definitely got his dad.
How many has he got out now?
I don't know how many he has out, but I've read Nosferatu, because the show.
That's the show.
Okay. I wasn't so big on it. I didn't love it, but I'm digging the book. And with Creepshow coming out, and they're writing stuff for Creepshow, and we'll get into that in a second, because I do want to talk about this.
Right.
I know we both watched it, but
well, I actually, bad news. I did not.
Oh, well, then I'll talk about it.
You can talk about it.
You can put your headphones on. Not the podcast that we're currently recording. But no, anyway, so I started reading more and more, by Joe Hill, just see what it's all about. And I'm always kind of going back to King around this time of year, because it's that time of year.
Cujo time, misery time. It's like, well, misery's one of those that I actually hold off until like November. Once the snow hits, I'm like, I want to watch Misery now.
Yeah, that's a good time.
That's when I want to watch The Shining. I don't care about The Shining in October because it's not winter time.
Going on with King, like Mr. Mercedes, I like that show. Yeah. So, and that starts up around this time. It has. I have not watched the third season yet, but it does start up this time. So, like a lot of King things, they have King marathons because his birthday's in September and stuff. So, I start rereading things. I'm going to reread Dr. Sleep before I go see Dr. Sleep. Mm-hmm. And I don't care how long either are. I've never seen The Shining on the big screen. And I've always wanted to. I always miss my opportunity. And like Psycho Cinema did it last year, and I missed my opportunity to go. So I'm looking forward. If they show The Shining and then Dr. Sleep, I'm staying for the whole thing. I don't care. I will watch the whole thing all the way through.
That'd be a really good drive-in. Just saying.
That would be a really good drive-in. Yeah. Oh, I hope they do it, because they're going to be open till mid-December.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, anybody who listens, which is nobody right now,
well, yeah.
It's our first podcast, but anybody who listens and lives in Virginia, go to the Family Drive-In. They're open till mid-December.
Out in Steven City's fantastic.
They're not paying us to say that, because we don't have anybody paying us to say these things.
We're our own people.
Yay! So, neither here nor there. So I am excited for that, and I want to reread the book before I go see the movie.
Well, I'm really miffed, actually, because one of my favorite Stephen King movies, I unfortunately missed my opportunity to see on the big screen.
So did I. I hurt my hip.
Go. Yeah, that's right.
I had your ticket.
You had my ticket, too. Yeah, you fell in the shower, man.
I fell in the shower.
It's the worst.
Go. And I was supposed to bring a buddy, because you weren't going to go, so he was like, I'm going to go. And I was just like, I can't go. So I was like,
Yeah, and they wound up rescheduling because I had purchased tickets for a Massive Attack show in March, and they rescheduled to this day, that specific day, so I couldn't see Maximum Overdrive, one of the greatest, really Stephen King's Opus Day.
I mean, I don't know about you. I would prefer going to see Maximum Overdrive over Massive. Unless they play Teardrop.
Well, no, it was all mezzanine. It was the 25th anniversary of Mezzanine. So they just did everything mezzanine. And
then I don't want to go because I only care about Teardrop.
Well, that's what it's Teardrop. It's all their famous songs.
You know what Teardrop's from?
Yeah, House.
House.
Of course. That's how I learned about Massive Attack.
I would listen to that show, call everybody an idiot, and then leave. And hobble out on a cane. It's the only way to do that.
Versus Maximum Overdrive, in which case you get to watch a Coke machine kill children. And quite frankly,
steamroller.
There is nothing better. Yeah, the steamroller killing the kid. everything that happened on that baseball field is my favorite part of that whole movie.
I think
that right there.
The fun thing about that, and just to touch down on this because I want to get into Creepshow, but like the fun thing about that when you have somebody like the kid when he everybody gets killed around him and he's got to flee. You don't realize how many things now that are mechanical or you run on electricity and things like that can kill you.
Yeah.
And him just riding his bike through the neighborhood, and it's just like there's cars everywhere, there's lawnmowers everywhere, there's all this stuff that can just kill you at a moment's notice. And it's like, where do you hide?
Well, that's the crazy thing is if you think about it then, nothing was really even tied in together. There were no systems that were unified. They weren't computer chips. They were just machines. They were just gas-powered machines that went off the rails. Nowadays, you think about everything, and it's like your home could kill you. They could crank up the freaking temperature with your little thermostats and everything else. I mean, just everything tied in together. They could just blow all the fuses at once if they wanted. It's crazy and terrifying. It makes me want to go live in a place where everything's powered by wood.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have PTSD every time I hear an AC/DC song now. So.
How could you not? It's the Green Goblin's face. Although, one of the greatest lines ever is when Emilio Estevez, in his penultimate role in 1987, after already doing The Breakfast Club, after already doing St. Elmo's Fire, after already doing Men at Work, like all these huge movies for him, which I don't know if Men at Work was, but it's one of my favorites. He gets plugged into this and walks up to a truck with the face of the Green Goblin and tells him that he's got the best pure uncut stuff on the East Coast and tell his friends if you know what he means. Because he's going to sell them and fill them up all that gas. Like, are you kidding me?
Such a Stephen King line. There's a reason that this is the only movie he ever directed. And I still love him for it. Because, I mean, movie-wise, Stephen King has as much to do with movies as he has to do with horror.
Yes.
Or books.
Yes.
Or anything. Like, he is... Like, his movies are iconic.
But and you do him a disservice to not bring them up. Whether he likes them or not, someone took them and ran with them, and they're fantastic. And, Maximum Overdrive, you don't have to like it.
It's fun.
It's absurd. It is
fun.
It is fun as all get out because it's absurd. And that's the whole point. And I think that's what Stephen King really grasped onto. It's just unfortunate that's not a better movie because he had solid talent. He just didn't know how to direct them. I mean, that's all it was. And Joe Bob talks about that. One of my favorite human beings on earth, Mr.
Which
Joe
will
Bob
be
Briggs.
here in 9 days.
9 days.
I cannot wait. That is my hero. My 3 literary heroes that inspired me to become a writer are Stephen King, Hunter S. Thompson, and Joe Bob Briggs. His articles, because if you read his first book, it's just a collection of his reviews. And that's a Joe Bob at the Drive-In. And it's him as John Bloom, who is his real persona, that's who he is, and Joe Bob, and writing between. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of the greatest. I'm so excited for Joe Bob because he was really what got me heavily into the horror movie scene because of Monster Vision. I mean, that's straight up what it was. My parents wouldn't let me watch those movies if they knew I was watching those movies. It's a Saturday night. I get to sneak downstairs and flip on Monster Vision. And, I get to watch my double feature. And then you get the male girl. And, of course, 13-year-old me is like, woo!
Oh, and I started watching him in the 80s on the movie channel.
Right. That was Joe Bob at the Drive-In, correct?
That was Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater.
Okay.
And it was so different. Being a weird kid who loved movies, and I didn't care if they're bad, good, whatever. I just wanted to watch movies. I wanted to experience movies.
Right.
So, to watch somebody talking about, because I knew who Zachary was. I knew who all of these horror hosts were. Elvira was big back then, but Joe Bob was different. Joe Bob, it was almost like he brought the experience to you.
Yes.
And because it wasn't just horror. He had those bad action movies. Bad kung fu movies. He had those drive-in movies.
They Live. I'm sorry, but that was where he did that running tally. And I always go back to They Live because he did that running tally of how many dumpsters and car windshields Keith David and Roddy Piper threw themselves into.
Oh my God. But he always did those outlandish things, but at the same time brought to you. He was IMDb before IMDb.
Yes. Yes.
And he knew everything.
Yep.
Like all the other horror hosts were just like, this is what happened, and this is a rumor that happened. But like Joe Bob knew. He went out and he talked to the people who made this movie and became friends with them. And when you read his writing, it's like, oh my god, it wakes you up. It's very much in the same vein. If you read a Stephen King novel or you read a Hunter S. Thompson book, which are two very different types of genres.
Yes.
But not very different either.
Well, it's knowing where to put that detail. It's knowing what pulls you in as a character, or as a reader, what allows you to sympathize or to connect, or to reach out, to understand, to grasp. They did a great job. They did a great job putting you where they wanted you, and saying this is what you're going to see. And they set the scene well, and then they brought you into it.
Yes.
Slowly over time, they just Stephen King especially. He just brings you into it by kind of lulling you with detail and like getting you into the mindset, and then all of a sudden, bam, this happens. The dog's at the window. Oh crap! It's fascinating the way he does that.
But it's the honesty of all of them. Mm-hmm. All of them just bring like an honesty to it that wanting to be a writer, and that was like my main focus growing up. Even as a kid, writing poetry and things like that. Like I did weird things. I did what is considered weird.
Right.
Not by artistic types, but like
by
the normal society.
The 9 to 5 society.
Yes. So to these three writers, like inspiring me, were just big. So getting to meet him coming up is huge.
It's gonna be amazing.
I cannot wait, and I don't even know what to say to the guy. Like, what do you say to this guy who is your hero? Like, because you watched Joe Bob's Drive-In and then Monster Vision. Monster Vision was a whole new experience.
Exactly. For me, Monster Vision was that special experience because I did watch Elvira because my friends thought it was fun to watch her. And then who was Van Gool?
They had Vampira. There was the one that they
parodied. No, Elvira, and then they had the Ghoulie, Dr.
Well, Sven Ghoulie.
Sven Ghoulie. So I watched Sven Ghoulie on. He was on Nick at Night or something like that. He was on. I can't remember.
Was he on Nick at Night?
I can't remember.
No, he was on the Chicago channel.
Oh, WGN.
WGN.
Yeah. That's right.
Now he's on MeTV.
That's why I'm thinking of Nickelodeon, because he's on MeTV. Yeah. They have all those Nickelodeon shows on. Yeah. So, but I was always a fan of them. I thought they were great. But Joe Bob made it fun. He was laughing at these things. He was taking the movies that I was scared of and legitimately had fear of these scenes. And by him breaking down the scenes, I went, I'm not really afraid of this anymore. I'm able to enjoy the horror movie.
But as much as he made fun of them and as much as he laughed at them, he always respected them.
Oh, of course.
There's always something to respect.
There was never a put down in a way where it was like, this whole thing is crap. He's saying, no, this scene is crap because of, and then you get into the story. You get excited because he's explaining something that might have gone wrong in the set, and you get to learn about it. And that was one of the greatest parts about it. I mean, look, it was up against, USA's Up All Night. So I had two options of what I was going to watch on those Saturday nights,
And what's funny with US Up, our age in the 90s, like you're like, USA Up All Night, like you're going to see some women.
Oh, yeah.
Even blurred out.
Side boob.
Like, you're going to see something.
Exactly.
And I still was like, I'm watching Joe Bob. Because I was that weird kid. And I was like, I don't care. I need to see what Joe Bob's going to say.
Yep.
And I need to learn and absorb all this knowledge of movies that only he can give me. And then he went off the air. And I mean, at 18, I was still watching him religiously on Saturdays. And then he went off the air and he left me.
Yeah,
he left me for 17 years.
Yep.
Thank God for Shudder bringing him back.
Shudder bringing him back has been a revelation. It is so nice to have
Shudder does not pay for this. They don't even know we exist.
They have no one does yet. So
one day, hopefully, they will.
This is as embryonic as it gets.
But I am telling you, this is
I'm so excited. I have no idea what we're going to say to him. I mean, I might just try to bring up the fact that Roddy Piper, Keith David scene is what got me into all of these officially. That was what locked me in.
Just be honest about it. Just tell him what got you there.
Man, that monster. And especially what he's doing. I am so excited for this whole Rednecks Who Saved Hollywood. That's that's his presentation that he's doing live. And it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he does.
I mean, I saw the full breakdown of everything that he's bringing in. And, of course, you have to bring in all of these. I mean, Toby Hooper, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You have to bring that whole crew. And that's a huge deal.
We should ask him about, was it that Swamp People movie?
Yes.
I wouldn't mind taking her camping.
Wouldn't mind taking her camping.
The greatest line of all time. I love it. I've got to find out the name of that movie again.
The fact that he goes...
The Alligator People or something
like that.
From the 60s.
Oh, God.
And just like when the guy walks in, he's like, so who is she? Well, I wouldn't mind taking her camping.
Yeah, he's like, all upset
what?
like, Mrs. Braden or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
Well, she's not so bad. Wouldn't mind taking her camping. It's
My God, it's just
you
so
and I
bad.
stared at each other for a good 2 minutes after that line with our mouths agape,
All I
trying to
want to
figure
do
out
is
what
talk
is.
about women that way because it's so weird.
Yeah. What does that actually mean? Like, are you gonna take her out and like murder her?
That's not why I want
What's
to
that?
say it. I want to say it because it's so weird. Like I want people to look at me and be like, that's a stupid thing to say.
Like, what does that even mean?
Oh God.
Well, the best part is you can't ever explain it. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I know.
If you ever try to explain that line, it's shot. It's dead in the water.
I know.
You just leave it and walk.
I mean, this is a scene that started off with a guy getting out of a plane and going into a bar. Like,
Which, if those airports exist, I need to find them because that looks like the coolest kind of place.
yes.
It's
They do.
literally
They're
right there outside of a swamp.
in Louisiana,
In
of course,
Louisiana.
or Florida. That's how it is. Alligators hanging out.
Yeah, of course.
But I will say, to kind of maneuver over to it, since we're talking about Shudder and we're talking
Yes.
about Stephen King, Creep Show.
Creep Show.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I have
week
not.
2 just happened this week.
Okay.
So this isn't going to be a review. This is going to be me selling you on watching it.
I like it even more.
We're both fans of the movie.
Yep.
Movies.
Love
I even
the
like the
movies.
second
I
one.
love the second one.
The Raft is one of my favorites.
Nice.
But the first one is phenomenal. I mean, George Romero. That's my hero right
Yep.
there. That's my boy.
Yep.
Talked me into going to film school. The debt's not happy about that, but I love the connections I made and I appreciate him for it. But the greatest thing about this is it's Greg Nicotero's doing, and all of the writers, and Stephen King's one of the writers, Joe Hill's one of the writers,
Nice.
and all of the actors they got for it, but it's keeping in the same vein of Creep Show and what it was.
And that's important.
And it's almost like they're paying an homage to Tales from the Crypt.
See, so I went back after you actually mentioned that. So we were discussing via text message things you're not privy to in radio world.
Yeah.
But we were discussing the fact that you had mentioned that it's much like Tales from the Crypt. Well, that kind of inspired me, and I got in my little mood, and I went and watched Demon Knight because it's what
Gotcha.
you do. It's one of my favorites.
Like demons or something?
Worse.
Demons. Oh my god, I love that line. And I got to see that on the big screen. It's like
Exactly, yo. Oh, did you really?
that was the last movie, dude. I was so, I mean, that's the one that I really wanted to see because anyway, Psycho Cinema, this thing we do, does 2 times a year. They do an overnight stay at a movie theater, and you just watch like 6 or 7 movies. It's amazing. I love it. They're doing it again on the October 12th.
Nice.
So buy tickets, Alamo, Winchester, Virginia Draft House. Even though we'll probably post this on the 13th.
Yep.
Not really, but I have to work on it.
We get to fiddle with this a little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, it's going to be fun. 6 movies. But like they had, Demon Knight was the last movie. And that's what kept me going. And I stayed for the whole thing, and it felt good.
Because you get Billy Zane on the big screen. Come on, man.
I don't know if I can do it for the next one. I'm going to try. But like, I've seen Hellraiser too much lately.
Oh, is Hellraiser the big finish?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is a great movie.
Yeah, but you and I have already we've gone back and forth on this. Hellraiser is one of my all-time favorites because the Cenobites legitimately scare me. That is
absolutely.
a nightmare I have. So I love that movie, but every time I go back and watch it, I can only watch 1 or 2, and then I'm okay with them, but it turns into that horror porn, essentially, where it's all gore. It becomes a gore fest of how gross can you be, and it's like, I'm good.
If it doesn't have a good story, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really hard to have a good story when all you want to focus on is the leather-clad maniacs. And how ridiculous they were.
Hellraiser does have a good story.
Yeah,
That's why I
Hellraiser
like it.
does.
I'll stick through it. It's just, I've seen it like 5 times in the last year.
Well, you and I watched it a couple times because of Joe Bob. Then
Yes.
it's
And his does great. He does great little vignettes on it and hosting it. But I watched it for other reasons too, and I'm just like, oh man, I was like, it's so good, and it'll be cool to see it at Psychorama, but I'm gonna be really tired. And watching a movie that I've seen 5 times this year,
you're gonna fall asleep to it.
I'm like, I might fall asleep to it, or I might just have to go home because now it's at like 10 a.m. and I'm like, I've been up all night. I need to go home.
Yeah, seriously, Hellraiser isn't worth the extra hour and a half.
I'm gonna try though. I'm gonna really push because I always want to stay up for all of these.
Right.
And they are showing some good ones. Sad you're going camping because I know Hellraiser on the big screen would be big for you, but they're also showing House.
Which I love House. House is one of those go-tos that USA played ad nauseum, it felt like, back in my childhood.
Oh, yeah.
It was always House or House 2 was on. And I love those movies because they're just outrageous. And House 2, another one that legitimately scared me because of a cowboy ghost up in the attic. And when you live where the foot of your bed is at the attic door, the idea of that thing running down the door was not cool.
No.
I was not all right with that.
Not at all.
No.
And it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. That is going to be that's a fun lineup. But I don't know, it's also kind of weird. House and Hellraiser. I don't know how I take those together. In the same
it makes
mix.
sense for the theme being monsters. It's like a monster mash.
Oh, okay. Well,
so like you have ghosts, you have vampires, you have witches,
Yeah,
you
fair.
have all this stuff. So demons,
what are they, demons or something?
Worse, demons.
Nice.
Love it.
We can pull it out 3 times, I promise. We got one more in this.
Love it. Love it. That's how we have to end the show. We gotta go. Why? Demons or something. Where's demons? Anyway, there, got the third one. He got the third one. And I whispered it.
I was just going to let you go with it. Yeah, I was just going to let you roll with it.
But yes, going back to Creepshow though.
Yeah, because Creepshow.
It,
well, I absolutely will. Like I said, it was one of those. I got caught up in Demon Knight because Tales from the Crypt. When she said that, kind of my brain flipped, and I was like, I haven't watched Demon Knight in almost 3 years, and I love that movie. And Billy Zane's hilarious in that movie when they're all caught at the top of the barn and he's just hollering at them. Oh, so good,
dude.
And then you also get, Creepshow, even the classic Creepshow. That was one of those that I latched onto very early, that I loved Creepshow more than Tales from the Crypt. Because I wasn't really allowed to watch Tales from the Crypt if Mom knew that's what was on. You know, it was one of those I had to avoid. Whereas
shows.
Creepshow, for some reason, my stepdad liked, so we could watch it. So I got away with Creepshow more, so it meant more. And then I was also locked up because, work is dumb, and I finally found some room to watch a movie, and I wanted to do a throwback, so I went back to Cabin in the Woods.
One of my favorites. Not much of a throwback.
No.
I mean,
it's
wilding
pretty tight.
into 2012. Yeah. I mean, whatever. We'll teach our own. It's still a great movie.
Pre-kid era. So before I had a child, when I was a different man, and then watching that movie through different lenses, it's like, okay.
No, that's like pregnant with your child.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I wasn't that far out of the realm.
Yes, you didn't have the child yet, but she was there.
No, I did I love that movie, man. Cabin in the Woods is one of my favorites, just because it's Thor at the same time as he was Thor.
Yes.
Except he's bald and he, that shaved head, and I was like, oh yeah, no, he was still okay. I remember this guy.
So good. That is such a good movie, and it's Drew Goddard, the guy who brought us Daredevil.
Yep.
Which was a great iteration of Daredevil.
It's fantastic, and I really like the way he spun. Well, because it's that whole Joss Whedon, Drew Goddard, that whole crew, Franz. I'm gonna forget his name.
Franz.
Yeah, but that's what it's something like that.
Something like that. Who was great in Bloodsucking Bastards? Who
You
was
Might Be the
a
Killer.
friend of mine. Oh my God, You Might Be the Killer is great.
Phenomenal.
I love that movie. 2018 surprised me a lot with its horror movies, especially towards the end of the year, because Summer '84 is great.
Oh, Summer '84 is fantastic.
You Might Be the Killer, I loved. Hell House 2 came out.
Okay,
I loved Hell House.
Hell
House LLC.
Okay.
One came out in 2016. 2 came out last year, and then 3 just came out this year. And it's a trilogy. It's a planned trilogy.
The Final Girls. I love
Final Girls. Final Girls is good. Tragedy Girls came out, and that was really good.
Oh, that's right. That was the one I didn't watch yet. Yes.
So you had all of those, but my favorite, I think, in my mind, still the best movie of 2018 is Mandy with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, agreed, and it's fantastic. Finally made it through. Well worth it. Worth it. I mean,
so many people should need to check this movie out if you haven't seen it, especially if you're a horror fan. It was brilliant.
And honestly, after watching it, I realized it just has the pacing of Amityville. And Amityville is one of my favorites. Yeah. So it just paces. That first hour and a half is almost succinct with the same hour and a half. It's that same stretch where you're just building, and get ready, and then walls and down. It's fantastically well done.
But with that, I feel like we've been snobby enough. We didn't even talk about Creepshow. You know what? Let's save it. I want to talk about it when you watch it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I plan to watch it this week.
Because this past episode had such a brilliant take on werewolf transformations that I would really like to talk to you about it. And actually, let's plan for that next week.
Ooh, let's do werewolf chat.
I do want to do a werewolf chat. Absolutely.
Well, let's just do a full-on monsters chat.
Yeah, we have a lot of room of October left. We need to talk about, we need to split that up. Because I am going to see Wolfman's Got Nards on October 16th, which is a documentary about the Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad, yeah.
And I would like to talk about that too. But I like how we're doing show prep in our first episode.
Well, it's great because they may now never hear this episode. This might be the one that we listen to and we're like, well, that didn't work.
They're going to hear it. I don't care. I'm just going to blindly throw it on. We don't have any intros or outros yet. We're brand stinking new.
I mean,
you'll love it.
The babe wet behind the ears. But we managed to cover a lot. There's a whole lot going on this week, and I think we did a fantastic job of just scratching the surface.
We need to talk about AEW.
No.
We didn't talk about anything.
Barely.
We got a lot of time.
There's a whole lot of things.
They're not going anywhere.
And here's the other thing. All of our wonderful, fantastic listeners, we appreciate you all very much. And please do not be afraid to give us feedback. If there's something more you'd like to hear us talk about, if you'd like to get our take and spin, please go ahead and comment. Wherever you can comment, wherever the comment section is available, let us know.
Slowly watching my microphone fall, and I'm just going to let it go until we're done.
And that's how it's going to be. That's how the show is going to end. You're just going to hear a thunk. Here it goes.
What are those,
ladies and gentlemen? It's been an absolute pleasure.
Worse
demons.
And with that,
thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.